Hi, this is Laura Fulcher, and today I'm making another video for Memory Box, this time showing you how to use their new Rosette die. And as you can see, it makes a three-dimensional embellishment that you can use on your craft projects. The die itself looks like this, and as you can see, it's a rather long die, so the trick is you just need to know how to cut it out and then how to fold it to make the rosette shape. The set also comes with a centerpiece that not only cuts out a circle, but it adds a little bit of scoring for added interest, and you can decide whether you want to use it on your card for a saying, or if you want to add something like a button or another embellishment instead. So to get started, the first thing we're going to need to do is run our die through a die cutting machine, and you can use any one that you like, whether it's a Big Shot, a Sizzix, or in this case I'm using a Cuttlebug. And the thing to keep in mind is that the die is rather long, and so most of the plates that you have might actually be too small for this, and they make larger plates for precisely this reason, but what I'm going to do is show you how to use it using the standard plates. So the first thing I did was I cut a strip of long paper, and I used some low-tack tape on my die to hold it in place. And the reason why I did that is I'm going to have to run this through the die cutting machine twice, and the tape will help hold it in place and it won't move when I run it through a second time. So to put my plates down, I started with an A, added the C, and then finally my die cut. The die cut's under there with the ridge side up so that it cuts upwards into my paper, and so that the die cutting will cut into my B plate, which is my final plate. Okay, so the edge of the die is hanging over, but I'm going to run it through. So this is just using the standard plates. I've heard some people have to jerry-rig their Cuttlebugs. They're all a little bit different, and if that's the case, you can add a piece of paper as a shim. The trick to that is you don't want to force it through your Cuttlebug, or else there's a chance you could break one of the plates. And then all I did was I switched this to the other side so that I have one part that's cut, and now I need to cut this part. Add my B plate back on there, and I'm just going to run it through again. And when I'm done, what I'm left with is my taped piece that I now need to untape. And it's going to, maybe if you use less tape, it'll be easier to get off of there. There we go. And it's hard to tell. I'm going to move this to the opposite side, but not only did it cut out my piece, but it added tons of little score lines that we're going to use to make the rosette. Okay, now that we've got our piece cut, we just need to fold along all the score lines. And to do that, I'm going to create basically a fan accordion fold. I'm just going back and forth at all the score lines so that I'm going to end up with an accordion folded piece. And when I spread this out, you can see what I'm doing. Hills and valleys, back and forth at each of the score lines. And instead of making you watch me do the whole piece there, I have one that's finished. And you can see back and forth and back and forth. And now I just need to tape it together. So I'm going to add a little bit of tape here. And so I just taped these end two little pieces here. And I'm going to fold and make a tube with this so that one whole petal overlaps another petal. And then just stick that really well. And now I have a tube. One side has my pattern to it, one side is flat. I'm going to put it on the table, and basically I'm going to have this flat section on the inside so that my pretty decorative's on the outside, and I'm just going to flip it towards the center Use the table for this. So as you press down, it flips on you. As you fold it down, you're left with this rosette. And until you tape it, it's just going to be kind of spring-loaded like this. So hold it down while you have this. And what I usually do is add just a piece of Wonder Tape or some glue dots or something like that. And you're just going to tape the piece down. And when you put it onto your card, it's going to give it some extra stability. I like to use Wonder Tape because it has this backing, and I can make this and save it for a later date to add as an embellishment. But you can use whatever strong tape you really like to use. One other thing to keep in mind is this is the rosette made at its normal size. It's a 1.5 inch strip, so your rosette ends up being about 3 inches wide when you're finished. If you want something that's a little bit smaller, you can do that. You can see it's a little bit smaller, and as a result it has a little bit bigger circle in the center just because it needed to spread out to make the rosette. But to do that, before I folded my piece, all I did was put this in my paper trimmer and trim off a piece of that. Made it about 1 inch wide instead of 1.5 inches. And after you fold it, you're left with a rosette that's a little bit smaller. And for the card that I did, I did that. I used a 1 inch piece so that it fit on my card a little bit better. So that's all there is to it. It's really easy. The last step, of course, would just be to cut out your centerpiece to glue on top. Or as I said, you have another option there. You could add a button or some other embellishment, a charm or something that you like on the top of that. That's it. It's really easy to do, and it adds a nice touch to your finished piece. Thanks for watching.